On today's episode, we are going to be talking about everything X-Men because we all grew up in the 90s and we like X-Men 1997, at which we're also going to talk about that show later in this show. But we're going to talk about X-Men. We're going to get a little political on this one. So don't run away. Stay tuned. Don't go anywhere. Oh, I always wanted to do this. To me, my X-Men. Ring the bell. Let's go. Welcome to Society and Pop Culture 101. I am Instructor BK.
I'm Instructor Novacaine.
And like I said in the intro, we're going to be talking about X-Men. We're going to be talking about the Great Replacement Theory. But before we get into any of that, we have a guest to talk about this with us. So we're going to bring him up right now. Da, 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 da.
I like that. I like that. My X-Men. That was good.
Thank you. It's my corny moment for the episode. I won't have any more. I promise.
This is the whole new side of BK.
What's up, BK Novacaine? What's good? What's
up, Juss? Welcome in.
Thank you. Classes in session. Did I make it before the bell?
I think you did make it before the bell. Did I not say classes in session?
I
did not say that.
You're yeah, you didn't say it, so we're gonna have to throw it in there. But just welcome in. You are a guest instructor, so whether you're here right at the bell or before the bell or a little bit after the bell, you in there.
All right,
as long as you're not 15 minutes late, because we don't want the students to leave.
There it is.
That's right. Never, unless you got a hall pass, you know what I'm saying? Then you're good. You know, a teacher's note.
You can slide with the hall pass. You can slide with the hall. For everybody that don't know what a hall pass is, I'm kidding. So you have a great. You don't curse. You have a great podcast, and we're fans, of course. Could you tell the class about Getcho podcast?
Yes, please.
Yeah, so Getcho podcast is basically a wrestling-based podcast, but we do talk about everything else, and we just mix it all in with wrestling. We do try to represent a little bit of our culture background thrown in there, you know what I'm saying? Filipino, Thai, Brazilian, Mexican, Dominican Republican. So, like, we try to incorporate all that stuff in there. Of course, you know, I have a slew of guests that come in, and they come in, we have fun. My content is humor content because I don't take wrestling too seriously like some people do. You know what I'm saying? I feel like, you know, it's supposed to be fun, right? Just
Absolutely.
Like watching X-Men and doing stuff is supposed to be fun. So, like, the humor comes in when we try to do wrestling-centered things and incorporate with something that we like something that's going in pop culture or something like that. So, like, we've done wrestling promos where we did R&B wrestling promos, you know what I'm saying? Or we took a wrestler's gimmick and made it into an R&B song. Rap battles, like if a wrestler had like their own coffee shop, what would they have? You know what I'm saying? So stuff like that. So
so if the Undertaker had his own coffee shop, what would it be?
Oh, well, first off, if Undertaker has his own coffee shop, there would be a line for at least 2 hours because how slow that man walks.
Undertaker intro be 5 minutes long, just walking around.
Bro, you know how like you order like a caramel latte, it'll be like a caramel like later. That's what it'd be called.
Oh, no.
Taking the make.
Caramel later.
Order, sir. Your orders.
That's so creepy.
A gong gonna go off. Everybody's gonna disappear.
Yeah, exactly.
Gong gonna go off again. Your caramel latte is gonna be right there.
Like you get a cup and say, "Damn, why you say rest in peace? Should I drink this or should I not?"
Right. No question.
I almost spit out my water I was trying to drink.
Then you got Kane in the back trying to make the drinks. He can't see, the mask is all messed up. It's
Stop it.
So is that how they keep it warm in the back? Can't hit the little flame. Boom.
Stop. Kane.
Yeah, he's the
flames. The boiling water.
You got it. Yeah, I'm trying to boil water.
Listen, I know I said that was my one corner moment earlier, but the Kane flames is just
that was
just right in the sound.
That was good.
All right,
so basically stuff like that. Yeah.
You went for Charles Xavier earlier.
No, man. I already had the bald head. So does Jess. So,
Mhm.
Hey. And you got
Marvel,
the
you.
T-shirt too. And you got the T-shirt.
Mhm.
Oh,
He
this.
came to
Let me tell
represent.
you
He
about.
knew
I
what he
had to
was
go
doing.
hunt this one down because
Okay.
my daughter likes oversized clothing,
Mm-hmm.
and she be taking my shirts. Okay. I mean, I give her a few if she's listening. I know I gave you a few, but this one was not on the list to be given. All right.
Not
So I
that
had to
one.
go get it back. Not the
You was like,
X-Men
hold
tee.
up. He was like, hold up.
I
I
need
need
that.
the X-Men
I
logo.
need that back. That one.
Like
That that one. I need that back.
I had to go wash it this morning so it'd be ready for tonight. Anyway,
Yeah, looking
okay,
it's looking smooth. It's looking smooth.
let's let's get into a bit of this show. Class, I'm gonna be honest with you. I did a lot of sourcing this time. Usually I try to, add my own little
So did
flair on some
I.
of the writings and screens because I was tired. I'm gonna be honest, I was tired this week. And we're gonna start here because we're talking about the X-Men. The X-Men are a superhero group created by Professor Charles Xavier in response to the emergence of naturally born superheroes known as mutants. Dedicated to promoting a dream of peace and coexistence between mutants and humans, Xavier trained his X-Men at Xavier's School for Gifted Youngsters. I really always wanted to go to that school, by the way. Over the years, the heroes of mutant kind found their mission constantly endangered by both reactionary humans and fanatic mutants. That is from the Marvel .fandom.com. It's the Marvel wiki.
I kind
And
of don't like
make
that
sure,
description. I'm about to be on my Magneto because it's giving slavery. Like, put it back up there right quick. It's giving.
why you say it
No,
like
go.
that?
Hey, listen. Go ahead.
It's
Go
this.
ahead. Go
It's
ahead.
this line. Dedicated to promoting a dream of peace and coexistence between mutants and humans. Xavier trained his X-Men at Xavier School for Gifted
I
Youngsters.
mean, if
I
we're
don't know. I don't like the way it was set up. Like the sentence. I don't know. I
if
don't like
if
the way it was
we're
set up.
if we're talking about Xavier, I mean, again, his catchphrase is literally to me, my
My
X-Men.
my
So,
X-Men. He did say that. My X-Men.
but
He said it every single time.
given all of the racial overtones in the X-Men, I could kind of understand why you'd be like, I don't know if I like that. So Charles Xavier is Jewish, correct? I'm
Yes.
finna talk
Nope.
Charles
about the
Xavier's Jewish.
No. Magneto is. I
no
know for sure.
Magneto's
Magneto is.
Jewish.
Yeah.
What is Charles Xavier?
Let me see if I can find that.
Because in the
Caucasians.
cartoon,
I
because
don't
in the
know.
cartoon, I always thought he was just Caucasian myself. But in the '90s cartoons, why they make that man look Asian?
Dude.
They did.
As an Asian kid, I was like hoping, but then I found out that he wasn't. I was like, oh, okay. Well, I guess Jubilee and kind of Psylocke are the only ones. But
Uh,
I
It's
did
kind of
think
like
he was like British or something, but they're still Caucasians.
I, maybe it's like that. The character of
I just
Lex
started
Luthor
saying that.
in
I
the
do not need to make that a habit. I'm sorry. I do not need to
maybe
make
it's like
that.
no, you don't. Remember the Lex Luthor from the Superman animated series back in the day? We all
mm-hmm.
thought he was black, but they were
Yes.
like,
No,
he's not black. Like we
Yes.
argue online, like that man is black. Like
no,
you're not
Yes.
telling
No,
me
he's
he
that
not.
ain't black.
definitely
He's
looks
not.
like he's black. In
People
the
be
old school
arguing they black.
cartoon.
Oh wow.
I thought
See,
he was
okay.
black too.
Let me tell you something. So this is crazy because, and I know this is gonna sound crazy, right? So like we were talking about the year I was born. So I was born '84. Um, I got into Star Wars obviously because Star Wars had just ended. Return of the Jedi was like '81 or something like that. So like I'm like '89, start getting into Star Wars, right? I'm watching the whole thing. My cousin's getting me into it, right? And the whole
Mhm.
time, okay, I get the whole Luke is your father, whatever. And then we get to the point where they reveal Darth Vader's helmet. They take his helmet off, right? And I was shocked. Like legitimately, I was shocked because I thought it's supposed to be Earl James Jones.
James Earl, you thought it was James Earl? Look,
I thought, yeah, I was like, wait a minute, that's not him. Like who? And then they're like, no, they use his voice. They use his voice. I was like, they use his voice. I was like,
like we all know what
who said
James Earl
this?
Jones looked like and sound like.
I was
You
like,
just
James
can't
Earl
pull that rug
Jones.
under us.
Yeah,
Like,
I
who
was
is
like,
this
oh my god,
scab mug?
my bad, slapped me. I messed up his name. I'm sorry. But like
It's fine. It's
Daniel
3 of them
Jones, I
jokes.
was like, that's supposed to be him. And I was like, what happened? You know? Again, I'm a kid, but they're like, no, they use his voice. I was like, oh, why did they use his voice? Just use him. You know, it didn't make sense to me. You know,
They didn't want to make him a Jedi, and at that time, he was still young enough to be a Jedi at that
I was
time.
gonna say because I'm like watching CNN the news. I'm like, that's Darth Vader. You know, and then I'm like, this movie. I'm like, that's Darth
Hold on. You gotta say his name wrong, like we all did growing up. It's Dark Vader, okay? With a K.
Right.
Got you. I got you.
That man name was Darth. We was messing that man name up for years as kids. So let's bring this
Oh,
back
but
around to
back
the
to I
X-Men.
did find. I'm sorry. I did find something. They said Charles Xavier is this is a description from Google. Okay, Charles Xavier is wholly American, isn't British at all. But there's enough there, and it's not his fault. Charles' parents and ancestors were likely Spanish, Portuguese, and Scottish descent. So that's from Google. But
But
they
that
said
still don't
wholly
explain why
American.
they was like, we claim all of it. If this is the racial draft, there is
He's
no
all of Europe.
there's no dispute which
No.
team he is on, okay? So if this was a racial draft, given that Charles Xavier has an Asian face in the 90s cartoons, who are we drafting from the black community for Charles Xavier today?
To play Charles Xavier?
No. We're racially drafting like the Dave Chappelle skit.
Switch.
Who we trading?
From
We'll
the
do
black
superhero.
congregation?
Yeah, from the black congregation.
Let me think.
If Charles Xavier,
who's on the chopping board this week?
I don't know.
It
you know
gotta
what?
be Diddy. It got to be Diddy.
Yo. I'm gonna tell you who
we get. I'm gonna give him for Charles.
You know what?
Fiction or not? What?
Hold on.
Fiction or not?
They're not finna give up. They're not finna give up nobody for Diddy. I'm gonna go Tiger Woods. I will give the white delegation.
He already got Tiger Woods.
No, the last racial draft, Tiger Woods was Asian.
What did I say?
He went.
He
you know what? I see what you're saying. Yes, I think.
No. He said goodbye fried rice, hello fried chicken. So he's with us now. He is in the black delegation.
Right.
But now I'm saying it's been enough time.
No, it hasn't.
We could trade Tiger Woods.
He never came back.
To the Wahite people.
He never came back.
For Charles Xavier. I still think the Asians might take him. I mean, they still got the Wu-Tang Clan too. So maybe we can trade. I'm off subject, and I'm probably going to cut most of this. We could trade Tiger for Charles, and then trade Charles to the Asian community.
Say Charles again
for the Wu-Tang Clan. Then we get him back. See, boom. Long game, baby.
Oh my god,
that sounds like a good trade.
All right, let's get back. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm sorry.
I apologize for messing up the man's name. My bad, man. That's my fault.
Dude, it's fine.
Delegation, right?
I know, but the comments might come from me. You know what I'm saying? They'll be like, that man messed up.
Yeah, that will be the moment they find. That's exactly how it is.
Oh, Earl James.
Yeah, I said Earl James.
Because
I admit to my faults. It's
easy. It's easy to mess up that. It's 3 names.
What do we feel? How do we feel about the X-Men overall? The characters. By the way,
the entire existence of X-Men?
Yeah. What are your thoughts?
Always been my favorite. Before I even knew a Marvel existed, I knew that X-Men did. I love it. I've been obsessed with it. I'm a huge fan. And I was even talking to my fiance yesterday. I was like, I wonder why I never told my mom to get me at least X-Men comic books.
I don't know.
I don't know either.
I don't know either. I had the 90s cartoons, so I didn't need the comic books at the time.
That's probably why I didn't read it. Because we had the 90s cartoon. They did do that Evolution joint in the early 2000s. I don't think I really cared for it, though.
No, I wasn't
It
too
didn't
much
feel
of
the
a fan.
same. I don't
It
think.
didn't feel the same.
Hmm.
It
I'm
wasn't
gonna
the
tell you
same.
what. I'm gonna tell you what got on my nerves. Every time they put Wolverine in the front of everything in all the movies and stuff, I'm like, yo, Wolverine. And I think you guys made this point, and I'm gonna reiterate it just on your show on
Hmm.
Getcho.
Yeah.
Wolverine is a side character, and he
He was
Yes.
should be
never
a
the
side
main.
character.
He was
Hmm.
never the
He
main.
works better. Yeah, I mean, he can have his solo comic runs because his backstory is great.
Yep.
But when it comes down to the X-Men, he shouldn't
He
be
never.
front and center.
He was never the
Exactly.
front. He was never on the
No.
Exactly.
front line.
Just
So this is the thing about the X-Men that I love and I hate in the conversations online is because Stan Lee is given so much credit for how complex and all the racial and sexism and all that they
hmm
cover in the X-Men. They credit that to Stan Lee when in reality it was Chris Claremont and I
yes.
Mhm.
forgot the other guy's name. It was a dream team of writing and drawing.
Was it like Grant
And
Mhm.
Morrison?
no, it wasn't Grant Morrison. Um, but it was really them two that made the X-Men how we respect them in the 80s
How
when they took
we
over in the
respect.
80s.
Oh,
Mhm.
it's that with the guy with the French name. It's like something Dumayo.
Like
Um,
in the beginning, yes, some of that stuff was there, but Chris Claremont really was the one that made the X-Men what we know and love about them today. So y'all got to start putting a little bit more respect on that man's name. I think we're gonna talk
no
about it
facts.
later. Before we move on, what is your overall thoughts on the X-Men, Jess?
Yes, Jess.
It's the best way to know about uh like cultural reaction, right? It's the best way to get a perspective on what's going on in the real world without actually looking at the real world, right?
Yeah.
Like it's the best way to figure out that like, okay, some people may not be into things that make us different. And there's some people that want to learn and there's some people that just want to keep it to the way it was before.
Mm-hmm.
So when you see that in the way and the words and the demeanor that's used in the show, it's so real to the way that things are in real life. It gives
Yeah.
that person like, oh, like they may not like the fact that I'm whatever Filipino, or they may not like the fact that I can speak a different language. So I have to
Mhm.
be aware that those things are out there. Like it's not just roses and daisies and I want to know who you are. Like
Yeah.
it lets you
Mhm.
know that like people not just are going to disrespect another person for whatever reason, but they go to the extreme, you know. So it lets you know that how the world is a messy place, and sometimes it's like you just have to work your way around it. Sometimes.
Yeah, I like that because marginalized communities, I think we all in some form are attracted to the X-Men for that very reason. The way the X-Men
Hmm.
overcome the adversities, overcome the tragedies, overcome the hurt and all the pain, and still find ways to come together as a family at the end of the day and make things work out. I think that's like the core of what makes X-Men so good. They are a makeshift family like a mug, but they still
Yeah.
love each other and they all respect each other, except for Wolverine and Cyclops at the beginning of the 90s cartoon. But other than them two, the rest of everybody else was cool.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because we
Yeah.
understand that X-Men is a story about, I don't want to say war, but it's about replacement of
Mhm.
humans. The
This is
humans,
war.
some humans are saying that the X-Men's next step of evolution is a threat to them on a personal level. And I think that's the biggest plot line of all X-Men storylines. And
Yep.
the reason I
Mhm.
wanted to talk about X-Men today is because we're going to get into the thought process and the mind process of someone that could feel like that in the real world. But before we get that deep,
Subject matter: Bolivar Trask, comic debut, X-Men number 14, September 1965. X Factor number 206, June 2010. Dr. Bolivar Trask, a pioneering scientist and robotics expert, dedicated his life to addressing the growing presence of mutants, driven by a profound desire to protect humanity. Trask resolved that humanity needed to confront the human threat head on. To this end, he conceived of a robotic safeguard for humanity, which he dubbed the Sentinels. He spent many years working with the United States government, working on various methods to stop superhuman threats. Trask, that's about to eat me up, boy. Trask, Trask journey took a decisive turn when his son Larry Trask manifested mutant abilities to create. He created a device that would hide his mutant signature.
Okay. So I wanted to talk about Bolivar Trask because he is probably one of the most important people in the history of X-Men, especially when it comes down to being anti-mutant. Um,
Mm-hmm.
the Sentinels, the Sentinels are a group of robots that was created to destroy anything that's not human, right?
Yeah.
And we
Mm-hmm.
all know if you're a fan of X-Men, you know about the Days of Future Past and all that stuff.
Yep.
Um, Trask is literally the reason this all happens. While he may not have created the Sentinel, the prototype for it, he is still very much responsible for what the Sentinels became, which
Mm-hmm.
was a menace to all of society and anything superhero eventually.
Yep.
Um, he got that look. He
He
got that
does.
look,
He got
right?
the look.
He does.
Mm.
Everybody knows the
Mm.
look. He got the look. He got the look.
Yep. Yeah. Yep. Whoever drew this to be like, yeah, I know the look that we're gonna put on this guy.
Facts. So we got the Sentinels coming up next. X-Men debut number 14, September 1965 as well. The Sentinels were an artificial intelligent robots. The Sentinels were artificially intelligent robots designed to hunt mutant kind. Although a prototype was developed in San Francisco in 1906, the modern model was created by Dr. Bolivar Trask. He intended to use them to save humanity from what he saw as an impending threat to the species' existence. Due to the increasing number of emerging mutants, Trask created a master mode as the chief sentinel unit, an AI capable of independently creating sentinels.
Not the AI.
Mm. I was gonna say, yep. There's that word AI.
Not
I
the
will
AI.
say that even though this is like what the 80s,
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
even though this was the 80s, oh well, the 60s at this point. Sorry,
Yeah, like
because
late
this is the
'60s, early
60s.
'70s.
This whole storyline feels like it's before its time.
Mm-hmm.
Oh
Yep.
yeah, especially in the 60s.
We're talking about
But
AI.
Mm-hmm.
but maybe not though, because we had a big change of technology around that time. So a lot of different ideas could have popped off at that time. So maybe not. I was having this conversation with my mom, like something special happened between the 50s and the 60s. Something changed. And
Mm-hmm.
that changed
Yeah.
the course of history forever.
Was it
Everything here.
was it was it the space travel?
The space travel. Yeah, that's probably what it was.
Yo. Yo, we might have to do an episode on that. Let me know. I'd love to talk about that. Well,
We
the
definitely will.
I believe the atomic bomb is also the other one too. When the
Mm-hmm.
Oh
evolution
yeah.
of science really popped off around that time, because
Mm-hmm.
there was a race to build that. I know there's only like one story that people know about how the atomic bomb happened, but they don't tell you about the other scientists that were trying to get there, the other 20, 50 other scientists that were trying to get to that point. It just happened to be this group that got the atomic bomb, right? But just think about the other people that went on making other things, or just maybe they didn't have their hand on the technology that we have now, but they showed the people that we can get to this point based on what they were trying to build back then. They
Yeah.
just kind of like what we
They just
seen
didn't have the tools
in
yet.
Iron Man and stuff. They just didn't have the technology to do it. You know,
Mm-hmm.
in theory, they had these plans to do it, but they just didn't have the tools. So
Mm-hmm.
kind of like what Task is like. His father basically made the base of what a Sentinel um, network and what it can do from him, and then his son just took over.
Mm.
So I
That's a good
think
point.
the one unique thing, or not really unique, the one thing about people like Trask is once his son, because the Trask family is deep within the X-Men lore.
Mm-hmm.
Once his son became affected by the evolution that is the mutant gene,
Yep.
he did everything he could in his power to hide the fact that his son was a mutant. Now, I don't know if y'all know people around these parts when certain races
Say
start
it.
mixing with other races, they start hiding
Mm-hmm.
grandchildren,
Yep. Yep.
and then
Start
they act
hiding
like they don't
grandchildren.
exist.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Not only do they hide grandchildren, but they also hide history and act like it
Yes.
never happened.
There it
Completely. We're
is. That's
seeing
the
that
one.
right now in Florida, how they
Mm-hmm.
are taking the history of Black Americans, Filipino Americans, anybody
Mm-hmm.
that's not white blood American. They're hiding books. They're banning books,
They're
I
not
should say.
teaching it in schools. Me and my wife were just
They-
talking about this. How like some people are not even teaching the Holocaust as if it didn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
You
Like it
know,
didn't
like
happen.
how could you not say that did happen? You know, or
it's
anything
crazy.
else. Yeah.
How can you say
It's
anything else didn't happen and we're still feeling the effects of it today? What's going on
Thank
but
here?
you. That's
Who
what
are
I'm
these people
saying.
trying to
That is
fool?
what I'm
Like,
saying.
I
Right.
think that's the point here. If we erase the history of it, we ain't got to talk about the present.
mm-hmm.
And see, I think this is what the hopes were for the humans in the X-Men universe, the ones, the senators and and the government itself, and all the people like FOH and which we're gonna talk about in a second here,
Oh,
the Friends of
Friends of
Humanity.
Humanity.
Yeah. Those people wanted to erase the mutants because they say if we eliminate the mutants, then it won't be a problem anymore. They're
Mm-hmm.
ignoring evolution. You can't ignore evolution. Even if you take those out, if that was always the plan for your species, it's still gonna happen. It's in your DNA. It's in your DNA. And what we know about the Marvel universe is there's a hierarchy here. And I know a lot of people didn't watch the Eternals, but I'm just saying there are deviants, there are mutants, there are so many different types of humans
Mm.
and species put on Earth here to cultivate. And whether
Mm-hmm.
you want it to happen or not, you can try to fight your fate in this universe, but you can't.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
We're inevitable, baby. I just want y'all to know that by what is it like 2050 and the great
Yeah.
replacement theory is, which is the white replacement theory, is by like 2050. And we're gonna talk about that
I
later.
don't
I'm gonna save that. I'm gonna save it. I'm gonna save it. We're gonna talk about that later. Let's put
oh
that
I
in
mean,
pen.
I was about to
when you look at
I was
like
about to say,
when you look at like the way things evolve, we all came from where, right? We all came from Africa,
Yeah, true.
right?
Facts. I
And
know
then
where you were going with it. I had to
everyone
make
just
sure
spread
first.
out. Everybody just spread out because that's the way the land works, right?
Yeah.
So
mm-hmm.
Pangea
so
broke
that's just
apart.
how it goes.
Mm-hmm. Pangea broke apart and
I
Mm-hmm.
like that.
it just went
I
to
didn't know we was
wherever
going
it
that
needed
deep.
to go. And
Oh,
this is
oh,
why and this
that's
is
why
why
we're
different
here.
people this is why different people of different cultures have different things going on. So if you're from the mountains, you're probably more hairy. If you're in the desert, you're probably less hairy.
Come
If you're
on,
in
of
somewhere
course.
windy, your eyes are probably a little bit slantier because you don't want to get all that
Ooh,
shit up in there, you know? But
preach.
I didn't know
Right.
where we was going. I was just
Yeah.
No,
like,
I mean, listen.
I'm gonna have to
There's a
get both of
reason
y'all
why
the preacher towers, the towels,
there's
the
a reason
preacher
why an
towels.
elephant it can't look like a fish, right? Because it
there
wasn't
you
born in the
go.
water. You know
It
what I'm saying? It
wasn't born in
wasn't.
the
Factuals.
water. And this is literally going back to the freaking what is it the Darwin theory when he
Mm-hmm.
had
Mm-hmm.
these different birds going to these different places and he realized that maybe it needed a thicker beak or a longer beak to get to the food, like a longer wingspan or a shorter wingspan, like
Right.
what are we saying here?
Of
I'm
course.
gonna have to
Of
get one of them
course.
buttons with the applause on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do
I'm gonna have to
need
get
one of
one of them
them.
buttons.
We long overdue.
Look, I mean, look how like when you look at insects, how many insects are there? There's like a million of them. None of them are the
Millions
Fact.
same.
probably.
You know what I'm saying? None of them are a grasshopper and an ant are not the same. Grasshopper and a
Nope.
spider are not the same. You know.
Nope.
And even within
That's
their
fact.
different types,
Even
they all
even there it
evolve in
is.
different ways depending on where they are and what they need to get done.
Mm-hmm.
There it
So
is.
obviously, within the Marvel universe, there's a need for the mutants to exist,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
There's a
the
need.
humans can
Mm-hmm.
ignore it, and they can't ignore it because obviously they don't want to. But you know what else is crazy about this whole Sentinel program that made me think about how things are going today?
What? What's so
You
crazy?
had you had people like Trask, you had the people like the FOH. It's a small amount of people. It's not even everybody that has an issue with the mutants, and most of the mutants are loved.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
Yeah.
loved, and
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
so you have a small group of people who lobbied and who was outspoken that made laws and was able to move the government to do the one small thing that small amount of people wanted done, which was make the Sentinel program to make the mutants go extinct.
Right.
If that's not a metaphor for 2024, I don't know what is. Let's just talk about it. Abortion, small number of people. Banning books, small number of people. People
Mm-hmm.
who's mad about what is it? What is the name of the stuff that CRT? Small number of people.
What's the
Um,
Mm-hmm.
CRT?
Mm-hmm.
critical
I'm not
race
hip.
theory.
Oh,
Critical
it's
race
critical.
theory.
Okay, I am hip. Yes.
So you had
The
these small
acronyms.
groups. What's crazy about some of this, the way this legislation is moving and bannings are moving, is you have a small group of people, and most of these groups are led, the major rhetoric is led by two people. They might be in
Mm-hmm.
separate wings and not colluding with each other, but it's one dude that brought up CRT, and then it moved mountains because he was the loudest one in the room.
Right.
And it's one woman that's behind most of these books bandings because she's the loudest one in the room. All it takes is a small domino to make a big splash.
Yeah.
Donald Trump, and this is not anti-Donald Trump. I'm just talking about
Yes,
this
it is.
from a
No,
in,
say not, say not.
from a from from a political standpoint, right? You have Donald J. Trump. He made it to the presidency. We're not going to talk
Mm-hmm.
about how he got there. We're not going to talk about legitimacies of presidencies and none of that. We're just talking about the
Mm-hmm.
fact that he made it to the office.
Mm-hmm.
One man was able to appoint so many different types of judges
Mm-hmm.
that when certain things start coming up, it all went into the GOP's favor because they kind of like,
They set it up that way.
every it's all set up that way. And these are again a small number of people making moves for the country. Anti-abortion,
Mm-hmm.
CRT, book banning. Three major things that everybody was trying to stop. But a small number of loud people made these things happen. It's the same way with the Sentinel program, which
Yeah.
doomed the future, by the way. I would like to point that out. Those small number, this is why we can't really listen to small groups of people because they're not always right. The small group of people making the Sentinels, getting that, and the domino effect that it had on the world, because not only did the mutants get extinct, but every time you see like the Wolverine movie, how many humans did you see? Regular humans, how many?
And
Did you
Wolverine's
see
movie?
did you see any sprawling cities?
No.
You
No.
didn't. No, 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 because evolution was gonna be evolution. And looks like most of these humans had the X gene. They didn't
Mm-hmm.
say that, but I'm just saying. So boom, you got to be careful with what you do in the now because you never know how it affects the future.
That's
And I
true.
don't remember seeing a Trask in the future, but anyway, that's
Not a single one, right?
not a one.
Not a one. He came from. He sent one of them sentinels. That's what it was. That was it.
Uh,
Well, the Sentinels take over in the future. We ain't gonna talk about it in this
Funny.
episode.
Actually, it's not funny. It's kind of ironic. Trash sent in the sentinels to destroy the mutants, but most of the time when the sentinels go somewhere to destroy stuff, wouldn't the humans get destroyed too?
yeah, they're like, well, what did they say? Casualties.
There's a lot of doggone casualties
Right.
going on
That
in the
is. Yep. Yep.
universe. Which
I
brings
mean,
me,
they just dropped the Sentinel in the mall. Remember that first episode? They didn't care about the.
Exactly.
They ain't care about the people shopping.
Exactly.
It's not
Just
funny,
boom.
but it's funny. You just
Yeah, I know it's not
It's
supposed to be
ironic.
funny,
It's
but
very
they're
ironic. It's
like,
just very
okay,
ironic.
whatever. Humans are there, but there's more mutants. Drop the Sentinel in the mall right there.
I just,
so
I just,
I
I'm
saw a
just, I'm just.
conversation on TikTok, right? Oh,
Mhm.
sorry. Go ahead. Nova. What you saying, Nova
No,
Kane?
no, I was no, I was done. I'm just confusion with that because his whole point was to take out the X-Men and mutants,
Yes, right,
but
right.
a lot of humans perished. A lot of
Oh,
them.
a lot of them.
Obviously, a lot because these Days of Future past timelines, there don't be no humans just chilling.
Oh,
It don't
dude,
be no
dude,
humans.
dude.
Don't nobody look happy in that world.
Yeah, you remember how the city looked? No, there was no
Deserted.
workers. Forge was in an abandoned, collapsed building.
It looked terrible every single time. I don't
Yeah,
Right.
know
every
what
single time.
I don't know what he was. I don't know what he was thinking of. Like I don't know.
Because what
I don't know.
happens is
Every single
they
time,
set that
never, never
they
looking
set
good.
the AI, they sent the AI, the AI took over, and then they start attacking the humans too.
Well,
Yeah,
But for some reason, the AI
I don't
decided to
know.
round up the mutants. I don't never understand that. You kill all the humans, but not round up the mutants. I don't know.
it's
I
that
don't
one
know.
super sentinel that they couldn't kill, right? It's the
You
forgot the
talking
name of
about
it. It's a
not Modoc? That's not him.
no, 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 no. I can't
Nimrod.
think of it right now. There
Nimrod.
you go, Nimrod. There you go, Nimrod. Yeah, yeah.
We're gonna talk about. We still gotta talk about. Let's get through
Okay,
the
okay,
rest of this because we still gotta talk
okay,
about
okay, okay.
X-Men 97. All right.
Sidetrack, sidetrack.
We always sidetrack. Don't worry about it.
That's like our go-to at this moment, at this point. Like subject matter: Friends of Humanity (FOH). Comics debut: Uncanny X-Men number 291 of June 1992. A pro-human hate group founded by Graydon Creed in his opposition of all mutants. Under Creed's leadership, the Friends of Humanity promoted bigotry and violence against mutants, lobbying politicians to pass anti-mutant laws. The FOH have caused damage on many occasions whenever there is a possibility to harm mutant rights, and they are agitating to force lawmakers to reinstate the Mutant Registration Act. I need to start reading with my damn glasses on.
Okay, so
Start
if the Sentinel program was the start of it, the Mutant Registrations Act was the continuation. This is basically
Yes.
petitioning. It's like twofold, right? And that's
Hmm.
how most legislation works. You have whatever's
Yes.
going on in the back, right? Going on, but
Mm-hmm.
then you have the face of it all. You have what they
Mm-hmm.
show to you outside of that. So the
Hmm.
government has plenty of committees and things in the back that pick and choose what's next. And then by the time we get it, it's already chosen for us. And then we have to call 870 times to make them not vote for whatever terrible thing that they're voting for. That's basically uh how the Mutant Registrations Act goes.
Yep.
What sucks about people that are racist is they also have political power
Hmm.
and
Too much.
they also get in government, which is why it's important to vote. If
Hmm.
you see someone, and then it sometimes it's not even the racist people, it's the people that's misguided, it's the people that's been lied to, it's the people
Mm-hmm.
that has eaten the candy of the propaganda. They've watched all of the anti-mutant movies. They watched the mutant movies where they've killed people in the movie. They
Hmm.
watched the mutant movies where they may have been selling a little adult candy, you know what I'm saying, in the
They're
streets
the
to
kids
all
that
the little people in the mutant hood. You know what I'm saying? They
they're the,
Yeah,
eating.
they're
yeah.
the kids that would get bullied and wouldn't do anything but like smile, and then like they're over there just thinking in their head, just when I turn 18, I'm gonna become a politician.
Yeah, yeah. They're the people that know
Those the ones.
somebody that knew a mutant, you know, because
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
people don't lie and embellish stories at all, you know.
Oh
So
no! Come on
not at all. So by the time
now.
this stuff snowballs and you have enough people but to fall into the lore and the myth of what the mutant is, by the time they go vote, they're like, oh, we got to get these people out of here. That's why the crowds are so big on them protests for the mutants. I mean, you have people walking around with
Hmm.
signs like, uh, hang the mutants and
Yeah,
uh erase the mutants. I'm
erase the
just
mutants,
saying,
right?
if you haven't realized by now, I am talking in code, by the way.
I hate you. You heard what I said. I hate these humans.
Yeah, like because that's what X-Men is. And
Yes,
wow,
yes.
did you guys see the rhetoric when X-Men 97 came back out? How everybody
Mm-mm.
was upset at every little minor detail because they don't
Yes, I
understand what
saw
the
it.
X-Men
I
are.
saw it. Yep.
They're mad about Gambit's outfit. They're mad because Forge is bisexual. They're just mad about these. Look, they're like X-Men are woke.
The,
Excuse me, the X-Men been woke. Where have you
the
been? They've been
X-Men
woke
been
since like the
woke.
80s, since the
yeah,
70s.
they've
Like
been they've been all of that. They've been woke. They've been what I'm saying, they've been in the culture. They've been everything that you think they should be. Um, way back in the 80s, if you want to talk about like the comic books. What I'm saying. I'm
Mm-hmm.
pretty sure the in the comic books it was more extreme, the
even
terminology.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
So if you think about how many years that's like 40 plus years they've been this way. You know.
even in the 60s. I mean,
Yeah.
why I said earlier, Chris Claremont and his team was responsible for how we view the X-Men today. That's still not to discredit what Stan Lee and his squad did when they
Mm-hmm.
first brought it to the limelight, when they first created them, because in the storylines, like we seen in 1964, 65, the anti-black storyline was there, the civil rights storyline was there.
Oh
They
yeah.
just didn't put it in your face. People, what I need you to understand is these stories have always been ingrained in comic books.
A
Just like we
fact.
talked about with Captain America when he was punching Hitler. That's when they start becoming
Yep.
popular. But
Yep.
in the evolution since that, the world was so convoluted and so much hate filled that these stories, the real world absolutely impacted the stories that you were reading. You just didn't
Mhm.
understand it because you couldn't see past your own biases and you couldn't see past the punchy shoot stuff. But you
Yes.
have to look further and look deeper. But what's cool about the X-Men is they've been preaching at you this whole time and you didn't notice.
You
Mm-hmm.
didn't know because they weren't paying attention.
Right. And like I
But
remember
now,
I was reading that same thing on Reddit, and the stuff that you were talking about. It's like, oh, but there's no action. What happened to the action? I'm like, did you watch the original run? There was basically no action whatsoever, really. I mean,
right?
there's probably like what 8 minutes of a 30-minute episode of the action. Most of the time
Mm-hmm.
was all this
Most of the time,
social,
it was.
all this relationship issues. Like that's the
Mm-hmm.
bulk of why people like X-Men, because it was like, let's put all that stuff aside. That's fine, but when it comes down to it, we got our own internal issues that don't require our powers.
Mm-hmm. And that was literally the tone of the 90s. Like they'll try to
Hmm.
dress it up in something, but the undertone of the whole thing was completely serious.
Yeah, yeah,
It's a
Facts.
whole nother thing. And I think that's one of the reasons why I do love 90s TV, animation, whatever, because there is always something behind it.
hmm, facts.
Oh, I know I referenced Days of Future Past, but I just want you guys to understand what it is
One of
right
the
now.
best
So
storylines. This is literature right here.
this is the storyline that really it is though. This is the
It
storyline that
is.
probably changed comics. And not only did it change comics, but it changed the X-Men franchise to why we love it so much today. An X-Men
Hmm.
story, and it's been redone 872 times.
Oh man,
An
and
X-Men
other shows have copied it too. Sorry,
facts.
sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. All right. Days of Future Past, the Uncanny X-Men issues number 141 to 142. An X-Men storyline was written by Chris Claremont and John Byrne and inked by Terry Austin in 1981. In a dystopian future where mutants are incarcerated in internment camps, an adult Kate Pride from 2013, this is 1981, from 2013, psychically transfers her mind into her younger self in the 1980s to Kitty Pride. The same person, they just called it different things. Kitty Pryde, who brings the X-Men to prevent a fatal moment in history that triggers anti-mutant hysteria, the assassination of Senator. Robert Kelly. And I'm gonna tell you
Uh-oh.
why I find that hilarious in two
Because his
ways.
name is Robert Kelly.
Because his name is Robert Kelly.
Because his name is
Yo,
Robert Kelly.
the X-Men was warning us about R. Kelly in
Tell
1981.
him. In 1991, was he
81.
popular?
81.
Oh,
No, 81.
81.
I think he was in. I
He
think
was
he was in
he
high
wasn't
school.
even
No.
famous yet. Yeah, but
No, he
in
was in high
81, he
school.
wasn't
Is the
famous yet.
X-Men the original Simpsons?
You better stop right there.
Maybe, man. Hey, when you
You
look at some of
better
the stuff
stop.
when you look at some of their line of work, I mean, Spider-Man, Fantastic Four, all the stories in there, a lot of this stuff have happened.
Facts.
Not
Is it?
like socially, a lot of this stuff has happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
True.
I like to
That
think
is
about
true.
Marvel as the more social side of comics. I mean, Superman and all those comics have their social commentary. Of course they do. But
Uh,
it's something about Marvel when they tell a story, when they're social, when it's like when it is hitting,
yeah.
it is hitting.
The characters are more relatable. I don't see a guy that could shoot lasers out of his eyes. I see a guy that's going through something, you know?
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Like we see the humanity in them first.
Yeah.
And speaking of, I saw a TikTok and I wanted to talk about this for a second. They were saying, why doesn't the other superheroes go through what the mutants go through? Because you got Captain
Mm.
America, you got Spider-Man, you got
Mhm.
Captain Marvel, you got most of the people that work for Shield, Black Widow, most of the Avengers.
Mhm.
None of them are persecuted like the X-Men. And the question was why. So I'm gonna see. Do you guys know why that is, or do you have opinions on why?
Because those were Charles Xavier's X-Men.
Them was Charles's kids.
Them were Charles's kids. Them were Charles's kids.
No.
Or they all on a different timeline. But they
No,
not though.
they all on the same timeline.
They're
So
all
you want to?
yeah, they're on the same timeline, just different time, like different things are happening at the same time. My answer to that is because I've always kind of got back and forth. The reason why they don't get persecuted, the Avengers, is because
They white.
they're
Oh,
military
God.
based.
Oh, that's a good one.
That's true.
I
They
like
got
that,
the
though.
military backing. They got the
That's
military backing. When you have Captain America, who was funded by and made by the military scientist group,
Facts.
and one of those scientists happened to be Howard Stark, also part of the military, they're going to get that backing regardless. Nick Fury,
What did we say?
military. Hawkeye,
What did we say
military.
last time? What did we say? Once Captain America became popular, it was fine for everybody else.
Yep.
But
Yep.
I think
Hulk is
just
military. He has a military weapon, so they're all military.
so, and
So
they
they
all from a
protected
time where
by the
people
US
accept it
government.
too. Yeah.
Exactly. Yep.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Avengers brought to you by the United States government.
You got me looking at that a whole nother way now.
Um,
It's a
my context is I think it's the fear of why certain groups of people are afraid of people mixing races in our real world. Okay, so with Spider-Man, at some point, Spider-Man was assumed to be a mutant and he was attacked too. So
Yes.
I think because the mutants are they have been proven that this is a part of their genes because there's so many people that's mutants, you could just find out why they're becoming this way.
right.
Mhm.
And but because of the fact that it's the gene, it's an evolution of the human gene, it's scarier for them. They feel like they are being erased. They feel like they're going to be no more. Just like again, certain group of people, a certain group of people that are afraid of being replaced.
Mm.
Which brings me to the white
really
replacement
did.
theory.
You really used the daggone tiki torches. That was a time in history right there. I'm telling the kids about that. I'm
I
like,
am too.
yeah,
I
that
am
1
too.
year. What was it, 2017? I'm gonna say.
Something like that. Remember
Yeah.
when they were walking around yelling? What were they
With
saying? The Jews would
torches.
not replace us. Them. They were talking about the Jews and the torches. But this This all goes together because
Tiki
they're all
torches.
afraid of non-white people being the majority in this country.
Hmm.
So also I
When
got Tucker
America,
Carlson up here.
when America, when America has tried their best to move far away from as much racism in their products that they had to get tiki torches.
Stop it. That's culture. That's what they had. Okay, that's what they had.
These are
So
supposed to sit in your backyard to keep the bugs away during the
Right,
cookout.
right. Not
hey,
carry them
hey,
around. Not
hey,
carry them
but them
around.
people was protected. Them people were protected from mosquito bites at this protest. Right? You can say what you want, but they ain't get bit by no mosquitoes
And it
with
was
no
the summer.
bugs
I want to
flying
say it was
around.
the summertime. I want to say it was the summertime during this.
Ain't no flies. Ain't no flies
It's so
around.
funny. I did not think he was gonna use this picture, but every time this tiki torch thing is brought up, it's just like this really happened in American history during my timeline. Like,
Right.
It's wild.
Oh,
It's
oh, man.
wild.
I mean, it gets. Remember, a few years, maybe a couple of years later, 5, 6 years later, it gets even worse when they stormed the Capitol.
yes,
Oh yeah.
yes,
And
Yeah.
of course I
think
remember
about
that.
how many people older than us thought that they would never see
Yeah,
that. You know.
Listen,
yeah.
side note, because we gotta talk about this. And I didn't want to really talk about the whole Capitol thing for real, but I
But the
really
tiki torch
thought,
is still
I
funny.
really thought, I really thought we watched and played enough video games and we played enough Grand Theft Auto in this country to know not to storm certain places, not to go up in certain places
Right.
acting the fool, right?
That wasn't
But then,
us.
but then when it happened, I'm like, how are they just walking like nothing, like no
You
gas
saw what happened,
was
right? There was no
thrown,
gas. There
nothing.
was no
Like
gas, no pepper
Yeah.
spray.
No
we seen
SWAT
the
One
teams
pop,
person
with the
got shot.
shield. No SWAT teams with the shield. You know how they usually come with the shield and stuff,
Nope.
we
and the
seen the
With
little
the
popo get
batons
hurt.
and the little.
yeah.
There wasn't no
Popo
like
lost their
front
batons.
line. There was no front line and nothing
Mm-hmm.
That's
Mm-hmm.
wild to me. That's wild to me. But that's all
because
we're
it
gonna say
wasn't us.
because
Because it wasn't us.
that's true. That's true. But let's
A
we'll
year
talk
before
about
that,
that.
when we had the George Floyd daggone protest, they was out there
Good point.
They was
Yeah.
out, and
deep.
then they tried to hit us. And then they tried to hit us with a Pepsi can and was like, "It's all good. Kylie Jenner drinks Pepsi. You're
Oh,
safe now. You're safe now."
Now I'm about to cuss. Put the thing back up there so I can talk about these people. And on Instagram, I'm getting slaughtered right now, so they already think that I'm against these people. How can I be so against somebody that's against me? Like I never
mm-hmm.
understood that.
Mm-hmm.
Am I supposed to love that person? I'm supposed to show that person compassion because they
Right.
hate me? I don't think not. What? That sounds like
Right.
abuse.
So
Like you're trying to. It's like
so
you're trying to. That's the ultimate trying to spin this around. You know.
That's what they call gaslighting.
You're right.
I can
You
understand
were
that, but I think that has a lot to do with the religious background of a lot of us, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
like turn the other cheek, you know, let it go, let it slide. And to
Mhm.
a degree, I am like that. I'm like, all right, that happened. Cool. Boom. I'm gonna let that bounce off me and move on. But at the same time, one, if somebody's coming at me, you know what I'm saying? You gotta fight back. You know what I'm saying? So
Mhm.
I'm all for protecting oneself. I'm just not for, oh, let's go out here and eliminate a whole race of people because that's a genocide, people. Uh
Uh, th-
we're
that's not
seeing that right
it.
now. Just like with the
It is.
mutants are getting, so many genocides are happening with the mutants. I'm just saying we can't fight that same type of thing with more genocide. That's all. That's all. That's all I'm saying.
No, you're
All right,
right.
white
And
replacement theory. So great replacement theory is
oh man,
sort of the latest term for an old set of ideas, and we've seen this appearing in one form or another at least throughout the 20th century. The ideal is that somehow non-white people or outsiders or strangers or foreigners will overtake the United States via immigration, reproduction, and
oh my
seizure
god,
of political power. One reason that the ADL is sensitive to this issue is that many incarnations of this theory involve a supposed cabal of Jewish elites. This is
I hate
from
that.
Kathleen Ballou. She was on the Weekend Edition Sunday. That's an NPR show hosted by Lulu Garcia Navarro back in
Oh yeah.
2021.
I hate it. It's so funny that like every time this is brought up, it's all about uh white Americans not wanting to be overtaken on a land that's not even theirs. Like you
Facts,
belong
yeah.
to technically you belong to Great Britain. You belong to
France.
Facts.
somewhere in Germany. You belong somewhere, I don't know, one of those countries, right? Um but I've never understood this whole nervousness of being overtaken in a land that's not yours. On top of, if this is supposed to be the land of the free, how come everybody isn't invited? Why is it why these type of people aren't invited? Why these type of people aren't invited? You made it this way from the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
where everybody was supposed to be, you know, come on in. Another point I'd like to make, I don't think this is a theory. I think this is actually the truth, and it can be scientifically proven because we all know that the blue hair, I mean, the blue eyes with the blonde hair is a genetic mutation. And if you continue to breed that with other races, and you do it more and more over time, it's going to get lost. And then maybe it'll just randomly pop up, from the fifth child of the 10th generation. Who knows? But it
Mm-hmm.
won't be. And I think that's why they're trying to make it into this whole theory and why they are scared, because history already shown that they thought they were numero uno.
Mm-hmm.
Numbers don't even say that.
Yeah, that's true.
Right.
Across the world, numbers don't even show that. And I could understand. I mean, I could guess I could kind of find some compassion. My 13-15% I got in me could find some compassion, because if my race was threatened, I would feel some type of way as well. But I wouldn't want to do weird things like kill other people.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
I think the best bet is to understand that evolution is evolution, like we said earlier. It's gonna happen.
It's gonna
You know,
happen. It's gonna happen. That's what's supposed to happen. That's why I don't understand when people are like, my kid's not gonna be better than me. Well, you shouldn't have kids.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that sentence right there. Like, aren't they supposed to be though? Like, don't you
Mhm.
want to set up for the next group to come up to be better than yourself? You know?
man, I'm
Hello?
trying to. I want my kids to be billionaires in the future. What you talking about?
Hello?
Yeah.
Please
Yeah, I
invite me.
know what you mean. I don't want to work in the. So yeah, you best
Listen.
believe I'm hoping.
Hello?
Yeah,
I
listen,
just never
listen. If
understood
you
that. I just never understood that. Because if we had that mindset, we would still be cavemen hitting rocks and shit. Like
Right,
fact,
right. We would
facts,
have no
fact.
education,
we
no
would have
knowledge. Yeah,
nothing. This that we're doing right now, none of this
yeah.
would be going
Right,
on.
right.
Absolutely
Definitely
not.
no
Exactly.
AI. I'm still nervous with the AI. That's baby, that
Mm,
AI.
listen,
I am and I'm
AI.
not, but that's another conversation. Let's not get off.
That's
Yeah, let's not.
that's
We're
another
I
talking
know what you
about.
conversation.
mean.
You're right.
Yeah.
We'll bring that back around another day.
Okay,
Just
okay.
you got something on your mind there about
The
this.
the thing is with the theory is that it's always like in a nutshell. It's like basically it's like playing victim, right? It's playing victim.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, oh no, this is why this? Why? I was like, well, first off, like you caused this problem to happen, and you're trying to come up with this idea. You know how some people are, they spread rumors and this to have their own narrative come off as if they're the ones that this is happening to when you're the ones that actually did this, and like it's just a big victim ploy, the whole thing.
Yeah.
you know it's like there could be really no replacement if it's already happening. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. It's
Like,
already
look
happening.
at your if you don't think it hasn't had, it's already done. It's been done. Like, look at the schools, look at your grocery store, look at the place where you live at. Like, if you don't see multicolored, generational, different ethnicity people around you, like, then you're clueless. You're just blind.
Yeah.
You know?
Points.
Yep. Yup.
Man, we gotta end this episode though. Anything else? Anybody got anything to add?
This
No,
is
this
really
is X Men
amazing.
'97. It's been
Just
great.
thank you so much for coming by today.
Thank you.
You can't
Appreciate
give
y'all.
away. You
Appreciate
can't give
y'all.
away the time.
The
The
conversation
time.
was so good. We hit straight up 2 hours of recording, y'all.
We
It's
haven't
so
done
much
this in a
stuff in
long
this
time.
episode. For real. It's so much stuff in this episode. I'm gonna have to cut some and be sad about it. But be on the lookout for part 1 and 2 of this one because there's no way I could just cut everything out. Let them know where they can find you.
All right. Well, again, I want to say thank you again for letting me come on and let me get educated from y'all. I really
Thank you for
appreciate
coming.
this. This is one of my favorite shows to listen to and to watch.
Like your
But you
money.
can find me at the Getcho Podcast on Twitter, Getcho Podcast on Instagram. I'm also featured on Marks and Mikes on Fridays. I got 2 episodes out, one talking about WrestleMania 40 and one just talking about the week of wrestling. We also did a sweaty session with me, Kyle from the Apron Rump. Check him out too, and my homie Charlie. We did a wrestling wedding proposal, using their gimmicks to see how they propose in wrestling. You know what I'm saying?
Yo, y'all are mad creative with this wrestling content. Like that's so cool. Y'all like expanding beyond just who slammed who the hardest. And I dig that.
Yeah, thank you.
That is
Hey,
beautiful.
that's
That
what
is
we
beautiful.
trying to do. So, but appreciate that.
Again, Getcho Juss. Thank you for coming through. Make sure y'all listen to Getcho Podcast. Go listen to it. While you at it, check out Power Bomb Jitsu.
Shout out.
And make sure you check out Marks with Mikes as well.
Please
And don't
like
forget
out.
to like, share, and subscribe to this one right here, Novacaine.
Don't forget to cite your sources, people.
Absolutely. I have been Instructor BK.
I'm Instructor Novacaine.
And over there is Instructor. No, you say it. Go ahead. Do your thing.
Instructor, semi-student, Juss.
He's the teacher's assistant today.
He's the teacher.
Yeah. I'm gonna clean up after y'all leave.
Hey, yeah, make sure you turn the chairs over.
Yeah, get the
Thank you
rappers.
guys for listening to the show. We had a blast today. Make sure you go check out everything we told y'all to go check out. Go do your homework. Watch X-Men 97. We about this thing. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening.
Ring the bell. Let's go.
Hey Mo, I wasn't ready. I was not ready.
I had to catch you off guard with that one.
You had to do it. You had to do it. You had to do it though. You had to do it. You had to do it.
Okay. All right. Intro play. Welcome to Society and Pop Culture 101.